Hello everyone and welcome to another cost cutter challenge with the average angler. We're at Acorn fishery again today and we really need a win. We haven't had a win for a while and I've only gone and drawn myself peg number 34, which I love. I feel like at the moment peg 34 is probably in the top 2 or 3 pegs on this fishery and I'm really happy that I've drawn it, and I feel like yes, I've got a chance of a frame in place. So it's a pretty windy day, but I've started across straight away in the long, I've gone as long as I can into 18 inches of water. And I've just fished a maggot on the up, no feed, because I knew there was some fish over there because I'd seen them when I was plumbing up. Pretty quickly after I've gone over there, I've hooked one, no problem. I went straight back out again and I had another little look, but the wind starts to blow the rig around, a foul hooked one. I could see the guy next to me on peg 33 was doing something similar and he started to catch a couple by fishing paste across, so I thought, well, maybe they want a bit of bait. So I've gone across there, fed some micros with a maggot over the top. I didn't want to put an expander on, it's too far with the wind blowing around. I just wanted the hook bait to stay on. And I've had another fish or two. I've had quite a few foul hookers over there. But I felt like there's loads of fish there, and if I can work this out and get it right, then maybe this is a really good tactic and I can just stick with this and do really well. Foul hooker here. That's doubled up section of elastic now, it's actually stretching on this pole, so you can see it's actually doing its job now. It's giving foul hooked in the middle of it, in the fin there. There's a lot of fish over there. Right, 1 hour update. I've got a 17 pounder carp in the bag and a perch. I've been forced to come off that long line because the wind has really got up as it forecasted it would. So what I've done is I've dropped down into, I've dropped down at one pole section back and I've dropped down to 3 foot of water, which is sort of halfway down the far slope. And a nice little spot that I found when I was plumbing up, and I've tapped in some micros there, and I already fed a few micros at the start, so there would be a few fish about. And first put in with a maggot, I've had myself a little carp, which actually ripped the elastic out while I'm still trying to get the rig to settle in. So I thought, oh, maybe we'll have a little run of fish here now over the micros. Didn't quite work out like that, but we did plug away on this line for a while. 2.5 hour update now. I've only got 21 pounder carp, which means I've only caught 4 pound in the next hour since the last update. The wind has forced me to come even shorter now. I've had to take another section off and I'm fishing at the bottom of the far slope. I had plumbed up here and I'd put some bait in. I fed maggots. I wasn't expecting to go on this too early, which obviously is still taking me 2 hours to get on it. So I had big potted some maggots at the start and occasionally topped it up a few times whilst fishing in the lines. What I found was that this line was towing a lot more than I thought it would be, and it's towing against the wind. And what I found was I was getting bites, but most of the time the bites were sort of a metre down the swim. So what I found is if I got a bite before I sort of got a metre down the swim, it would be a roach. But if I let the rig run sort of down the swim a little bit and hold it back about a metre down the swim, I would start to catch a slightly better quality fish like skimmers and small carp. I'm sure, at this point I'm thinking, I'm sure I'll be catching better stamp fish in the shallow water. And whilst I'm quite happy catching skimmers and bits and bobs, I knew that if I wanted to frame today I had to get some carp. But I mean, the wind was so strong that even at the shorter distance, which was me holding the joint between number 7 and number 8 sections on my pole, I was still finding it hard to even cut the bait in accurately with a toss pot. And I was having to wait for little lulls in the wind so that I could get the bait in. So I certainly wasn't going to be able to put 2 more sections on and go back across and catch those fish that I knew were there. So we're 3.5 hours in now, and I know that I need to get into some shallow water somewhere. So I've decided to come down to my short line, which I would normally say for a bit longer. And down to my left, there's a lovely little corner on peg 34. And what you've got is it's 18 inches deep tight in, and then it drops steeply down to around about 3 foot. And then the gradient of the slope gets a bit gentler, and you can actually fish at the bottom of there. So what I've done is I've plumbed it up and I'm kind of fishing over the top of the ledge. The ledge sort of goes around the corner and I'm fishing with my sort of over the top of it, and I'm fishing into 3 foot of water. Now there's plenty of fish here. I'm getting loads and loads and loads of indications, and I'm hooking fish, and I'm thinking this is going to be all right now. I'm going to be able to fish short and comfortable, and maybe put a weight together. Sadly, what was happening was I was losing probably 2/3 to maybe even more of the fish that I was hooking, and I was pretty sure they were foul hooked. In fact, I got a couple of foul hookers out, so I know they were foul hooked. And I just felt like I didn't really have any option but to persevere with this for a while, because none of my other lines were producing anything. You can have a good session on it. It's really going. It's just good carp this is. So this is the Marcelo elastic that you might have seen the video about on the channel. It's just slightly stronger than the other elastic that I've been fishing with today, which is the 11. This is more like akin to the 13. This is a good fish. Oh, I weren't quick enough there, was I? This time, where are you coming in this time? He's a feisty boy. Seems to think he's got an option. Not really have much of an option. He's going in the net. He's trying to get down this edge. I don't want him to go back down to where he's just come from, because I don't want him to disturb that swim. Got him. That was a masterclass in how to not net a fish. There we are. 5-pounder. So we've got an hour and a half to go at this point. I've just repurposed one of my rigs, as the rig I was using got taken by a fish. Just somehow broke me just above the float, so all I had was the lash left. So I managed to repurpose one of my other rigs. I'm fishing on the same line. I'm still getting odd fish, but I'm definitely still losing too many. I feel like I'm not out of the match. It's fishing quite hard. And I feel like if I can just sort this corner out and get a good run of fish going, I might be able to squeak into the frame, which is, obviously what I want. At this point, you can see here, it looks all right. The wind's eased off, and it has been eased off for the last 20 minutes. And I'm thinking, should I go back over long, or should I stay down here in this edge? Because if it works, it's going to be better than fishing long. These are all the things that you think about. I did actually, in the end, I didn't get it on video. I did go across, managed to hook one fish and land it, but then the wind came back strong, and so I was back down this edge again pretty quickly. A 3-pounder, 4-pounder. That was nice, straight in that time. A powerful fish or a foul-looked fish. Big boy. Nice little update. Around this corner, because oh Christ, good. Down the corner. We'll cut it off on the corner, isn't it? Nice fish up around up here. I think he's a mirror. That's a nice comment. Right, we've got 45 minutes left, and I've got 53 pound of carp on my clicker. But if you may have noticed, if you look carefully, I've moved slightly. I felt like I was getting too many foul lookers, and I couldn't come up with a good reason for it. And I think it might be my location. I just feel like because I've got that steep slope sort of next to where the rig is, maybe the fish are using that steep slope like a patrol route, and they're just sort of swimming around it, patrolling it, and giving me liners and drive-by. So what I've done is I've taken the same rig and found the same depth, but I've come back to myself a little bit and come a bit more round the corner, back on my side of the corner. And I've replumbed up there and just, again, fed the micros and fished the maggot, and it turned out to be a good decision because I've stayed on this spot until the end of the match, and it was definitely better, and I was getting much less foul-hooked fish. I hardly foul-hooked anything towards the end of the match. I can't help but think that this decision should have been made an hour earlier. It would have made a massive difference to my final weight.
There we are, their match is over. I think I've had around 70 something pound. I'll put it on the screen just up here, but it's not been enough. But 70 odd pound, 60 pound of carp and 11 or 12 pound of silvers or something like that. I feel like the peg was worth 100 today at least. I've had some issues with the wind, obviously, which nothing you can do about. But down to my left where I was catching a lot of fish, there was a spot where I sort of plumbed up and fed, and I was getting loads and loads of indications and bites, and I pick up odd fish here and there. But for every fish I caught or landed, I probably lost 3 or 4 foul hookers. And I just kept persevering with it, which in hindsight was a bad move, because once I eventually started to have a think about it, I thought, right, maybe I'm on some sort of patrol route, or maybe these fish are coming off the ledge, because I'm near a shallower area where it drops off into the deeper area. Maybe they're coming off that, coming down, catching my line and giving me false bites, or maybe cruising around that edge that I was fishing up against, that sort of ledge. I've just moved away from it and come around the corner. It's the same depth, and I've come a bit closer to myself, and I've just fished exactly the same rig, fed it in exactly the same way with the same hook bait, everything, and the bite to, the hooked fish to landed fish ratio has gone right up to nearly 1 to 1. I've started landing almost everything I've hooked. I've still had a lot of missed bites, but I think that there's some roach and that darting around, because I did foul hook a roach and some skimmers. I've foul hooked some skimmers, so that I don't know if the skimmers are spawning or what's going on, but there's a lot of bits and bobs happening down there. But definitely when I hooked the carp, they were there to be landed. So I feel like if I'd have made that decision earlier, I definitely would have done better there. I've lost a big fish that snapped my rig, and the only reason it snapped my rig is because I've used a tatty old rig out of the box instead of starting with a nice rig. So that's another mistake I've made, and that's my own fault. And then when it's gone quiet, when the wind's dropped in the last hour, I've taken too long to make the decision to go back over and have a look on the far bank. When I've gone over and had a look on the far bank, I've started hooking fish over there, and then and I'm thinking, right, they're better stamped fish, and that's when my rig broke, so I never bothered after that. I caught a couple, then my rig snapped, and then I didn't have time, so I'm in the last half an hour then, and I'm thinking, right, I'm not going to set up another rig. And so again, bad decisions and bad prep by me, and I think all them things could have added up to definitely £20. I mean, I've probably lost 10 or 15 pound off the hook that I shouldn't have today, not including the foul hookers, and then 3 or 4 more hooked fish because I've done a few things better, and all of a sudden I'm in the frame. So these are the sort of things you've got to do when you fish a match. You've got to tell yourself off for the things that you do wrong, and you've got to not beat yourself up about the things that you can't do anything about, like the wind and things like that. So there we are. I think we're on the cost cutter challenge. We're down to probably £75 now. I'll put it up here, but I think today we started at 90. 15 quid to fish, so we're on 75. I've booked into ship late for the next round, which is in a couple of days from now. I don't know when it will be released as a video. It probably won't be straight after this one. It'll probably be a week or so after this one. But there we are. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you in a bit.